All right, and we're here today on the Greg Davis podcast with special guest host Ian Specht. How's it going today, Ian?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Doing great, man. It's a glorious afternoon. Well, hey, we're here today in this edition to talk about the 49ers. We're going to take a look at their season, recap 2014, as awful as it may be to bring up some of these memories.
Yeah.
And we'll address some of their offseason needs. We'll see what they did right so far. We'll look at free agency. We'll talk about the draft a little bit and do a little preview of 2015. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
All right, you ready to get rolling?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So when you look at the 49ers 2014 season, it was pretty tough. They ended up being 8-8, and it was an ugly road to get there.
Yeah. Not only just not making the playoffs and being 8-8 after, a few glorious seasons before that, but just all of the nonsense that went on the entire season with the front office and the head coach and everything really.
And all the dirty laundry got aired. It was pretty ugly showing from the West Coast.
Yeah, and I feel like you could see it. You could see it in the team when they played on Sunday too. Just they had no direction for. The defense was good as usual, but the offense for me it just seemed like they had nothing. They didn't know what they were going to do half the time.
Yeah, sometimes you'd see him in a spread wide formation. Sometimes you'd see him in a jumbo package. Really, it was a mess, you could call it. Well, there were such high hopes going into last year from the offseason, coming off of we were so close to another Super Bowl bid. Of course, our stud inside linebacker, Navarro Bowman, gives up his leg, and we couldn't get it done. Now we know he's going to be out for half the season going into it. We know that Alden Smith is going to be absent for roughly half the season as well. And yet the defense, as you mentioned earlier, stood tall. They stepped up.
Yeah. I mean, it's been consistent for, 3-4 years now. And it doesn't matter how many people get hurt. Just guys seem to step up and... guys get hurt, and then guys. I mean, they're pulling guys off the practice squad almost to fill spots.
Yeah, even last season it was still a top 10 defense as far as points per game were concerned. Top 5 in total defense. Again, I mean, they haven't been less than top 5 in that category since 2011. Of course, the couple years preceding this past season, they were number 3, number 2, and number 2, respectively, in points per game. So the defense has always played well under Fangio and co. And it's really difficult to anticipate they're going to play better this year without Fangio being there. Can you make a case that the defense is going to be fine this next year?
I don't know. That's a tough one for me. I don't know much about the new defensive coordinator.
You don't know much about Eric Mangini?
I don't. I have to say I don't know much about that much. That's what I was saying earlier. But I don't know where they're going to go in. But I mean, as far as the players, that they're pretty much all going to be the same, and they're all going to be good. And have some key players that we were even missing last year come back. They signed Dockett this morning. But I don't know. What about you?
Well, I look at Navarro Bowman being able to come back, and we don't know what level you're going to get out of him. Now, we saw the emergence of Mr. Chris Borland last season, who was an absolute monster down the stretch. So if either Willis or Bowman has to miss time, I feel comfortable that we have the linebacker of the future kind of waiting in the wings. We look at Justin Smith potentially retiring, not coming back, the loss of Ray McDonald. I think that leaves big question marks at the defensive line. Of course, like you just mentioned, they did pick up Dockett today. That will definitely go a far ways to solidifying the potential depth we may have there.
Yeah, I feel like he's a pretty good McDonald replacement.
Yeah, I could see that. You still have, who else? Dorsey, Deal, Lynch, Gerard Eddy, Tank Carradine. If Justin Smith comes back, I think you're probably letting one or two of those guys go, saving yourself some cap space. But so the defensive line, I think right now it's a bit of a question mark. That maybe the picture may be clarified within the next month or two once we know about Justin Smith and which of these guys can actually be on the team. And then I look at cornerback and I see both of our cornerbacks who started last season potentially becoming free agents. Cox, of course, on one side, and Culliver, of course, on the other side. So maybe you're able to keep one of those guys. Maybe both of them walk. Now, who are your DBs? I think you have big question marks there.
Yeah, and as far as the cornerbacks go, I mean, they both played pretty well last year. Culliver especially, I think, is going to be too expensive for the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I'd love for them to sign him again, I just kind of feel that he's kind of a big name that's out there this season, and I feel like he'll go somewhere else because they're not going to pay him, but they might pay Cox to stay, and I'd be fine with that. I feel like I liked him even a season ago when he was kind of just a backup player. He stepped up quite a bit last year. At the beginning of the season after an injury, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like keep him along and then see where you go from there. You got to fill that spot somehow, whether it's the draft or another guy in free agency.
Yeah, I'm
just a cheaper option.
Yeah, and I think that the defensive back market is going to be competitive as far as the free agents go. So the Niners may have to address that need in the upcoming draft. Obviously, they're set at safety. That's fine. So we'll see how Mangini does. Mangini's supposed to be a bit more aggressive than Fangio was, bringing that extra pass rusher, whereas Fangio, of course, the line was doing well enough where the one linebacker could get pressure. So,
yeah, but that was also a couple years ago with the Smith brothers, basically.
Yeah.
It's just the two of them alone were killing it,
wreaking havoc.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's interesting that we tabbed Mangini as our defensive coordinator, and for the last year, he was Vernon Davis's position coach, as the tight end coach.
Interesting. I told you I don't know anything about that dude.
Well, yeah. Of course, he came.
Sorry.
He came from New England as defensive coordinator, and then went up as a head coach at New York, right? And then his predication for his whole philosophy was on defense. So I was really confused as to why he was our tight ends coach in the first place, and then Vernon Davis goes out and has his worst year potentially as a pro. And some people cite that maybe he was injured, but I have a big question mark as to the thinking behind hiring him as a tight ends coach and now promoting him to the other side of the ball as your defensive head coordinator. Well, they do have Tarver. He was most recently with the Cowboys, I think, turned their defense around. So we'll see. We'll see what's in store for us in the next couple months with the draft and everything.
Yeah, and Tarver's the linebacker coach. Is that who he is now?
I think he's a defensive assistant.
Yeah, okay.
I believe, or maybe the interior linebackers coach or something.
Right.
Who knows? So, all right. So you look at the defense, and now you look at the offensive side of the ball. And we mentioned that they were wildly inconsistent. Sometimes they look terrific. Other times they're stagnant. What do you expect out of the offense going forward?
I feel like that's the biggest question for us. It's and it also kind of ties into the whole coaching change debacle that we had, is the kind of, the stagnant offense, as you put it. Just I think that the changes that they made were done in the wrong way, and they're not even necessarily the right changes. But we got what we got right now, and I think that this coaching staff will actually at least try to work around the strengths that we have, especially in our quarterback. I think playing what he needs to play and helping him as much as possible is the best way to get our offense going, because it has to run through him. And so I feel like the rest of our offense is kind of up in the air. Like who's going to be our running backs, who's going to be our wide receivers besides like Patton and
Anquan.
Yeah, thank you. So I think that just focusing on Kaepernick, which they kind of seem like they're doing by, taking Chris, who was his quarterback's coach, and making him the offensive coordinator. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, they bring in Gieprist. Steve Logan becomes the quarterback coach, and they add a name from across the bay, Tony Sperano, as the tight ends coach. Anquan's little brother, DJ Bolden, is an offensive assistant. You look up and down, it seems, I don't know, what's the word, unproven?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any reservations or question marks about the way that staff has been assembled?
Yeah, but
do you have faith in them? Can you see them putting up a lot of points?
I hope so. That's the best I can say. But, yeah, unproven is definitely... I think everybody is unproven. Our head coach is completely unproven. He was in NFL Europe?
Yeah, he was the head coach of the Rhine Fire.
Rhine Fire, or whatever it was, yeah. So, I think that...
I think they did win the championship under his head coaching.
Interesting, I didn't know that.
I believe.
All right, and he has one game of head coaching experience is the end of that season. But no, I don't have so much faith in them, but I hope they'll at least do the best they can do and work with what we've got and go from there, really.
Yeah, you have Hyde at running back, Frank Gore. You'd love to have him back, but it seems like they're bracing for Frank Gore not being a 49er next season.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to either go out and get one of the veteran free agent running backs on the market, or, again, address that need in the draft.
Yeah.
I think a much more pressing need, obviously you have Colin Kaepernick, who is a dual threat with a big arm, and once he gets out in the open, those legs of his can go a long ways. It seems like he only has a fastball. He can only throw at one speed. Like he's trying to break her hands off in a 5-yard in.
Yeah.
With his mentoring program happening down in Arizona with the old Kurt Warner, I'm sure they're going to be trying to add some touch to his game. And Steve Logan coming in is known as a student of the West Coast offense, which is predicated upon short, accurate passes that supplement the running game to keep the clock moving, keep the chains moving. With all that in mind, do you think Kaepernick has what it takes to be able to take that little bit off?
I think he has to. I also think he'll learn it over the summer and in practice, but it really comes down to in the thick of it in a game is that when he's going to be able to have a little bit of a touch. I don't know how many passes were dropped last season, but I know a bunch of our receivers had high drop rates, and a lot of that is because he's like you said, it's that one speed, it's the fastball, even if it's 3 yards away. I think more importantly he needs to working on just his reads, and also, like I said, working working with a system that works around him and plays to his strengths. You know, all I've heard this whole time is Kaepernick's going to run like crazy next year. They're going to let him loose. And I would like to see that, because he doesn't have that touch, and he's not going to be able to throw it as much as, we'd like him to be. But if he can run, let him go.
I'd love to see that as well, as a 49er fan.
Yeah.
Well, we talked briefly about his weapons. I look up and down the roster, and I don't see weapons. I see Crabtree leaving. I see Brandon Lloyd leaving. And then all you have is Bolden, Bruce Ellington, and Quentin Patton.
Yeah.
Are you going to... And Stevie Johnson, who's as of now, it looks like he might get cut.
Even cut, yeah.
So you're rolling with Bolden, Bruce Ellington, Quentin Patton.
Yeah, which basically means you're kind of just rolling with Bolden.
Can you roll with those three guys as your legitimately?
Absolutely not. I mean, whether you draft somebody, which, if you can get someone good in that 15th spot, take it. But I think also signing somebody in free agency would be the key for them.
Randall Cobb's still out there. Wouldn't he be a perfect fit?
Yeah, quick
slot receiver. He can run by you.
Yeah. What about Torrey Smith?
Yeah, Torrey Smith. I mean, he's a burner. His hands are inconsistent, but he can get behind a defense. He can blow the top off.
Yeah.
If Vernon Davis is even a shell of what he used to be, that would bode well.
Yeah. What about an old Andre Johnson too?
No, absolutely not. You don't get Andre Johnson.
That's more of a Niner type move, I feel like.
You don't get Kenny Britt. You don't get Lance Moore. You don't get Hakeem Nicks, Meacham, Macklin. You stay away from all those guys. You get Cobb, the only guy who's still in his prime. Torrey Smith, I don't know. I'd have a hard time buying into that. It's better than what we have, certainly.
Yeah. I think that's kind of how they have to go about it too. Try and draft the best receivers that you can, and hope that someone can pan out. But then you have to have some kind of safety net if your draft picks don't pan out.
From what I've seen, the 49ers in the past couple of seasons cannot draft a wide receiver worth anything.
No.
They blew it with Jenkins.
Yeah.
The other ones just haven't really stepped up. They're not an integral part of the offense. Crabtree, I mean, it seems like years ago he was breaking that tackle in the en route to the end zone for Mike Leach and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. It was a long time ago that he was any good.
Yeah, and he's showed some flashes over the years, but nothing consistent. A lot of injuries.
He's a great possession receiver, but he's certainly not quick by any stretch of the imagination. We rode him to the Super Bowl, and let's not bring that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's shown that he can do it. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be a 49er. We're not going to be able to go out and sign him. And I don't think that we should sign a player like him, because he's basically a younger Anquan Bolden, and we already have that.
Yeah. And, Bolden, we know Bolden is solid. But
yeah, he'll be fine.
Other than that, it's just question marks.
You look at Vernon Davis, what are we going to do with him?
He's a tough one for me, because I'm continually frustrated with the way that he plays. But I mean, right now, he has one more year on his contract. So
that's true.
Keep him for another year and see what goes on. I mean, I feel like the trade value for him right now couldn't be that good. So it's not like you can really trade him for anything that's going to bring you something back, unless you think he's that bad. I feel like you might as well, see what happens this year with him. He has the potential to be a monster.
I think he's lost it
completely.
I think he's too afraid to go over the middle. His history with concussions, and rightly so. I think that he doesn't play the way that he used to. When he made that catch, he's not gonna run that route the same way ever again.
Interesting. But yeah, I mean,
He gets
maybe that's just
alligator
what I've
arms.
noticed for the last year is what I think of as a lack of effort is him trying to protect himself.
I think that's
Yeah, because that's what
the case.
frustrates me is him not, going up for the ball and laying out for it. So where does that leave us with tight end then?
Well, there's really nothing behind him.
Yeah,
That's really it.
so yeah, you got to hope that he can come back and at least be,
Serviceable.
slightly productive. He doesn't have to be Vernon Davis of old, but slightly productive.
All right.
Especially if you can get a wide receiver that can play downfield, then you don't have to ask him to do that. Which for a while he was our only player that could.
He's great at it.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the offensive line a little bit. Upati, he's gone.
Yeah.
So you're looking at Halloumi, Brandon Thomas, who they drafted last year, but was coming off that ACL surgery, didn't play. Marcus Martin, who thankfully won't have to play center next year because that was a poor showing. You have Kilgore coming back playing center, and then Staley. Not a bad unit.
No. Pretty good.
They might need to add a piece here or there.
If they can stay healthy, is really what it is. If you can keep, like you said, keep Kilgore at center, you don't have to play Jonathan Martin. Then,
Wow, that was pretty rough.
yeah, that was rough. But
That guy got beat a lot.
They'll keep him too. I think he felt like he can play a couple positions, so got to keep him as a backup. But
So the O-line, we think they're okay.
they're okay.
They need. That'd be nice if they added a stud mauler, somebody who could really do well in the run game. Carlos Hyde, like we talked about, I think can play pretty much behind anybody. He would do well to have somebody a little quicker than him as a running mate. But I think we're kind of conceding that Gore has already walked out the door. So,
That's another tough one. I feel like they've kind of, from what we've seen of them, it just seems like they're kind of giving up on him. And I think that Frank wants to play for a team that can possibly win Super Bowl. And I don't know if that's the 49ers right now. And that's definitely the Colts, especially with a running back like him.
Sure.
So, hey, if I was Frank Gore, I'd be going there too.
Yeah, they're going to offer you more money. They have way better chance of winning.
Yeah.
They're probably not going to disrespect you.
Yeah.
The way it looks like the Niners might. When we look back at last season, just to put a final stamp on that, they went out and they beat the Cowboys week 1. The game, turns out as good as the Cowboys ended up being, maybe they shouldn't have won. They kind of stole that game.
Yeah.
They win week 1. They go out week 2, and that's the Bears game, the Monday nighter, the big introduction to our brand new luxurious stadium.
Started out great.
Dominating early, and they end up blowing it.
Yeah.
And lose that game. Then they go down to the desert, lose to the Cardinals, who turns out were also pretty good. But you're talking about the Niners getting to the playoffs. There's 2 teams in the division who are already a lot better than they are, Cardinals and the Seahawks.
Yeah.
So they go out and they lose to the Cardinals, beat the Eagles, beat the Chiefs, beat the Rams, reel off 3 straight. Everybody knew they were going to lose to the Broncos. There's no surprise there. And then the next week, so you're looking at a team that is a 4-win team. They should have had 5 with the Bears victory that slipped away. And then after coming out of the bye at home against the Rams, I think that was the turning point of the season right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can only put up 10 points against the Rams, and
At home, protecting
At
your
home.
stadium.
I mean, what was the final score of the first Rams Niners game? Yeah, 31. So
On
just
the road.
on the road in 2 weeks earlier, 3 weeks earlier.
Sure. I mean,
just poor showing at home.
Yeah, that was. I mean, you chalk that up. That should have been another victory. Right now you're sitting at a potential 10-win season.
Yeah.
Just right there. That was a tough loss to take. Then they'll go back, beat the Saints, beat the Giants, beat the Redskins, all winnable games, and then comes the Thanksgiving Day game at home against the Seahawks. Again, the offense is completely stymied.
Yeah, 3 points.
3 points. That's all they could muster. I mean, that you don't maybe expect to win that game, but you expect to give them a bit of a fight.
Yeah, I know. I feel like you and for the 49ers season, they have to win that game. That's the game at home against the Seahawks. Like, we have to at least win that one because we're probably not going to win the other one in Seattle. So if we want to do anything, we have to at least split those two. And we have the last few years and this year they just came and just destroyed us.
Yeah, the Seahawks.
Less than 3 points.
Were on the road at a Thursday night game. Statistically, the road team Thursday night game is the one who doesn't show up.
Yeah.
In this case, the Niners played at home the Sunday before, and they were at home 4 days later. And Seahawks came in and had their way with them. Couldn't stop them. I believe that was the game that elicited the tweet from the owner about unacceptable.
I don't know. Was it?
I think it was that game. Anyways, so that was a tough loss.
It's just setting the stage for the shenanigans to come in the last couple weeks.
And then the next week, you go across the bay at Raiders. The Raiders, had they won a game yet? Maybe they had just beat the Chiefs.
I think they had one win.
Okay, they were
maybe two. I don't know.
Maybe they're coming off their first win.
Yeah.
And you go there and you get whooped by the Raiders. You only put up 13 points against them.
Yeah, and give up 24.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah, and that one kind of, I think, killed everything. It killed everybody. I mean, because then it was just like, after the first loss to the Seahawks, everybody was just thinking, okay, next week we can just beat the Raiders, and then it's into Seattle, and then we still have a chance to turn this around. If we can beat Seattle in Seattle, we're right back in it, and then you lose by 11 points to the Raiders, and it was pretty much over after that.
Yeah, you go out into Seattle the next week, you score one time.
Yeah.
This 49ers defense against Seahawks held them under 20 points both games, and the Niners put up a total of 10 points in 2 matchups. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
It really is. And against your division rival, your house, their house, it doesn't matter. You get whooped. And the rest of the season played out. Lost to the Chargers. I believe they were up in that game.
Yeah.
Let it slip away.
Chargers had a huge second half, came back and won that one. And then, after that, it was kind of not really playing for anything, but, got a win at the end of the season. I feel like they made a big deal of kind of the players playing for Harbaugh in that last game.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get him a last win.
Game against the Cards.
Yeah. But overall, it was rough.
Yeah, I mean, you count up the Bears game, that Rams game, and if I'm looking at it here, maybe one of the Seahawks games.
The Raiders game.
The Raiders game. Oh, gosh, you should have been an 11-win team. Yeah. Maybe you sneak in as a wild card, but that was brutal. That was a tough season.
So how much better or worse do you think they can be in this upcoming season?
I don't think they can be any better this upcoming season.
Yeah. You
jettison one of the most successful head coaches in recent history because of your hiring practices. I mean, you look at they go to the Broncos. They have Adam Gase waiting in the wings. They offer him the job. He gives them a list of his coordinators. Turns out Adam Gase is going to keep Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator, bring a fresh offensive perspective to the Bay Area, and you turn around and tell him that he has to hire Tom Sula as your defensive coordinator. You're essentially kicking Vic Fangio out, saying that there's no room for Vic Fangio in the building. Period.
And to me, that was the worst part of this, the whole coaching circus that went on, was the Harbaugh being out. I feel like I can understand that to the point of they just seemed like they were done with him and they didn't want to work with him anymore. And unfortunately, they're the ones that control the team, so they get to make that decision.
Remember how excited you were the day they hired Harbaugh?
Oh, yeah, totally.
It was awesome.
And it was perfect, 2 years later, it was just like, oh, wow.
It was the best hiring decision we've ever seen.
After those lean years of so many different coaches. We thought Singletary was the answer. No. Yeah. But the handling of Gase and that was, because I think we would be talking a lot different if that's what would have happened. If Fangio was still here, and then we just had him as our head coach or Gase as our head coach instead, I feel like we'd have a lot more hope for the upcoming season.
Let's go back to the numbers real quick. When Fangio was here, he was always in top 5 in total defense. He was always in top 5 in scoring defense, except for last season when it was still a top 10 defense. You go back before that, they were in the top 10 in total defense since 1997.
Wow.
Outside of the top 10 for more than 15 years.
Yeah.
Do you know who the defensive coordinator was that year?
I have no idea.
Pete Carroll.
Fucking Pete Carroll.
I don't think you can say that on the air.
Yeah,
Ian.
sorry.
Just for fun, we looked back at some of the championship years at the total defensive ranking. In 94, we were number 8, 89, number 4, 88, number 3, 84, number 10, and 81, number 1. Always in the top 10 in total defense every year we won the Super Bowl. I mean, it speaks to the old adage that defense wins championships. I hope Mr. Eric Mangini can bring us back to the top 10.
Absolutely.
Because that's what you have to have.
Yeah.
So we looked at, the Niners, they don't really have much cap space. They're pretty tight against the cap. If we see them cutting ties with the likes of all the receivers we mentioned, Frank Gore's not under contract. He's already gone. But if we start cutting a bunch of different guys, I think we have, with the cap increase, kind of in that $12 to $15 million number, we can go get a Cobb.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can get much else, but we can go get one player that, if we really want him.
Question is, do they do a Cobb or do they go for a running back? Do they believe in Hyde enough to just have him, be right up in there and be our lead runner?
I think they do.
You think they do?
I think they do.
Yeah, so absolutely go after that wide receiver.
That's the piece that's the biggest glaring need.
Yeah. Especially since you're, all of the talk of having a quarterback-centered running game also.
Sure.
Is, if, good for Carlos Hyde can play like that. That's not so good for Frank Gore. I feel like he doesn't play that way. So, yeah, definitely spend most of that money on someone who can actually, go down the field and catch the ball. Because Kaepernick can huck it down there.
Oh, man,
he's got the arm. He just needs someone to chuck it to.
Yeah, I agree. Where do you see the Niners ending up next season if 8-8 is our baseline?
I think they'll be about the same.
About the same. A win here, a loss there.
A win here, a loss there. I mean, I would love to say, in the positive direction to possibly even sneak into the playoffs, but that's I feel like you said earlier, with Seattle and Arizona, that's not really that much of a possibility. Just I feel like they'll be good enough to win against the bad teams they play, and they'll be also good enough to surprise some of the better teams that I think will think they'll lose to. But I think it's not going to be back to Harbaugh days and back to the championship. It's going to be are we going to make the playoffs? It's going to be back to those days.
Yeah, we should have an easier schedule than we have had in recent years. Finishing right in the middle of the pack where we did.
Yeah.
If we played the AFC West last season, who does it rotate to? AFC North
or
South? Well, either way, there's winnable games in both of those divisions. You look at our division, the Seattles, the Arizonas, they're not getting any worse.
Yeah.
The Rams, man, their defense is studly.
Yeah.
They're only a couple pieces quarterback away.
And we can never beat the Rams.
We can beat them once.
They beat us.
Or tie
they
them.
beat us, or tie us. Yeah, once like every season it seems like.
That's division, man.
Yeah,
it's tough. So 8-8, I could see them. We don't know anything about the coaching staff. We went from one of the most talented coaching staffs in the league to one with question marks everywhere.
A complete unknown, basically.
Yeah, where the players might get up and play for these guys. Tom Sula, he's a fan favorite. He's a favorite in the locker room. If these guys are as smart as they think they are, Parag Marath and Trent Baalke and Jed York, if these guys are as smart as they think they are, then next season should go swimmingly. But I'm convinced that the whole coaching staff is just thrown together. It's cobbled together. It's an insurance policy. It's a way out for them. If they don't perform well, you can just dump everybody.
Just dump everybody again next year.
Because everybody is an in-house hire. Every single one of them.
Absolutely.
It's there's.
They went
no
the
incentive.
complete opposite of Harbaugh. Which is kind of sad that they couldn't just work with him. It seemed like. Because everything you see it afterwards, after the mutual partings from what they called it, is Harbaugh just being like, yeah, they pretty much wouldn't work with me at all.
I think that we all saw, once we saw Harbaugh's personality and his demeanor, I think it was clear to see that he had a finite time frame. He had a window. It was going to be 2 or 3 years before that sort of fiery intensity that he brings just turns people off. Yeah. Whether it's your players or other coaches or the front office. I think we knew that he was volatile, and it probably wasn't going to be that that 5-10 year marriage that you can have with a team and a coach.
Yeah, I mean,
he's not Bill Belichick.
Wearing thin on me a little bit, just watching him throw a fit on the sideline.
Yeah, his antics on the sidelines.
I can imagine working with him every day.
The press conferences, but he was a heck of a coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
A heck of a ball coach. So we'll see which way they go. On an interesting note, the Niners picked up that rugby player, Jared Hayne, 2-time Player of the Year in Australia. He's making $1 million a season down there. We signed him for $100,000 as a punt returner, backup running back.
Yeah.
Just an athlete, guy who can come in, special teamer. Have you seen any of his highlights?
No, I have not seen any of the highlights. Yeah. I've been hearing all the hype about him in the last week or two, but
yeah, the Niners put together a pretty nice video on their website with a couple of his rugby highlights. The guy's an animal.
Yeah.
I don't know if his skills can translate to the NFL. That's always a big question mark. Of course, all you need to do is be an athlete. They go out and get basketball players and Olympiads and sprinters and stuff. So surely it's worth a look. What do you think about them going out to international recruiting?
I think it's great. I mean, I don't know if the guy's actually going to make any kind of difference, or if he'll even make the practice squad.
Yeah, is he going to be on the team?
But yeah, I mean, it's a good news story. It's definitely gotten a lot of attention, and you never know. It could be great.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him suit up, and I really hope the experiment works out. All right, well, that's all the time we have for today on the Greg Davis podcast. For Ian Specht, I'm Greg Davis. Thanks for listening.